Hey guys, happy Sunday Night Live here. Uh, Wanted to jump on here with you guys tonight and ask the question: what do you do with unmet expectations? This is a one we all deal with, unmet expectations. And the reason this came out about this idea or this thought came to me today, for those of you that don't follow a Christian tradition or background. This is what we call Holy Week, leading up into Easter. And so this is considered what we call Palm Sunday. And in back in the day, there was a huge expectation of who Jesus was and who was he, what was he coming to do. Um, and so just to do a little story here for a moment. Um, Back in the day, uh, there was this huge outcry. The Jews at the time were pretty oppressed by the Romans. The Roman Empire had grown, and in Jesus's day, the Romans were empire had extreme, right? Um, and so the Jews had been, you know, under rule and looking for a Messiah, a king to come and to really set them free, get them revolt, to push against the Roman Empire. Um, and if we've looked through history, there was always battles and there was challenges there. And so Jesus coming into Jerusalem was quite, you know, an exciting time for the Jews at the time. And so there was a huge expectations about who this man was at the time and who he was to be. Um, and over the course of that week, we come to find that what many were expecting Jesus to be was not to be. And how many of you come and have expectations about how somebody should be or how an experience or environment should be? You're like, I have these expectations. It should be this way. I'm anticipating it. I've seen these things. I'm interpreting it as this happening, and it doesn't happen. And so the reality is we will always have unmet expectations in our life because we're human beings, right? We're flawed. We have challenges, and the people that we are looking to meet our needs are flawed as well, and they're imperfect. And they may not show up the way we anticipated them to. And so I want to invite you to, number one, embrace it. Embrace the fact that you are going to have unmet expectations. And number two, if you understand that you're going to have them, number two means you can actually do something about those unmet expectations. So for me, what that has been as a tool that I use almost daily is called the stack tool. And you may guys have maybe seen that, but basically what the stack tool does is it takes your current desired story, your current understanding of what you thought, what your expectations were, the emotions, the feelings, everything that you have building, and it's all around this, right? And going through and identifying what that is. So for me in the stack, and I'll try to show you guys on my screen, but there's different versions of the stack tool. So here's just an example, and you guys can probably see some of those different emotions: rage, anger, frustration, irritation, if you will, guilt, sadness. And so sometimes your expectations are low and they exceed. So maybe your expectations are you're appreciating your gratitude because your expectations have changed. But what I want to get you, the idea is we all have unmet expectations. How do you handle unmet expectations, right? Because this is really fundamental in your success and how you live life and how you don't get bowled over. See, what happened was the Jews, many of them were disappointed, discouraged by the fact that Jesus wasn't this king that they thought he was going to be, right? They could have stayed that way. They could have stayed in that place. Thankfully, we have Easter. We have a God that rises from the dead and sets his people free, and he didn't get chained by the expectations of the people. He had greater plans than what we had plans for him. Um, and oftentimes that's my experience with God. He's got greater plans, he's got greater experiences for us, but our expectations are off. They're off kilter. They're not in alignment. And so how do we do that? How do we get in alignment? How do we get our expectations in a positive place, in a place where it's serving us and helping us? And so we're not getting frustrated and angry, and like I said, the Jews at the time were like, "Man, this who's this Jesus dude? I thought he was gonna be the king. He's gonna rock this place. He's gonna take over the Romans." And that was not the case. He literally did the complete opposite at the time, where he surrendered himself. And as we're going into Good Friday this week, for those of you that observe it, there is Good Friday, which is a recognition that God submitted himself, his son, right? So the expectations were completely counter. We were like, "Who? Why? What the heck? Why would this guy die? I thought he was going to live and take over, right?" And he was. It wasn't. That wasn't the plan. Thankfully, it wasn't, and our expectations weren't met. So here's the thing. Here's the story: is how do you understand and how do you shift the story? How do you understand and process that? And that's what I do in the Stack tool. That's what I invite others to participate in the coaching program, is to use that tool. It's a tool. It's not the tool, but it's a tool that I use to help shift the story, to get revelation, to get understanding. And you guys see me post some quotes that I get from that process, from the self discovery process. And ultimately, for me personally, it's a way of meditating, it's a way of seeking, it's a way of understanding, it's a way of quieting my mind so that I can open up and hear something beyond myself. For me, I believe it's faith. I have faith. I believe it's God. I believe there's a connection there. But even if you don't believe that, there is a way of being quiet in your mind, getting through the emotions and the stories and the challenges you're facing, right? And pivoting it and creating a desired story, a desired outcome. So again, we all have these unmet expectations. They come around. I'm using Jesus as the example because this is something we talked about today. It's Palm Sunday. You're thinking, oh my goodness, he's going to be this amazing king. And that wasn't the case. And again, thankfully, our expectations back then, the Jews' expectations, wasn't met. So that actually put us in a better place in the long run when we recalibrated, if you will, our expectations, our desires, and we put them in what God would want for us. And through me, through steward your business, through your steward your self program, that's something that you have access to, phone, desktop, whatever. You can use that tool, the Stack tool, to help you get clarity on the emotions and everything that's swirling around. And you're like, my goodness, this is supposed to happen. And it's not happening the way I thought it would. And I'll tell you for myself, 9 times out of 10, those unmet expectations or the things that I had, things I thought they should be, were not nearly as good as what God had for me, in the way that I could shift and see something much better. And so if you're struggling with unmet expectations, you're struggling with not getting your desired result, your story, it may be because you're contingent and you're looking externally so much and you're trying to get that fixated instead of understanding in yourself, getting centered in your own emotions and getting clear on what really matters most to you. And oftentimes there's a shift in our brain as our hearts and minds are connected get together, that we can actually see a much better story, a much better outcome. So if that resonates with you, reach out to me. I am bringing people on and having folks go through this program of helping kind of adjust your mindset and understanding, and to reset your expectations for long-term success. And using this as just one of the tools that I'm showing you tonight to process those frustrations, angers, irritation, whatever they might be that you're facing because your expectations weren't met. I want to make sure you're encouraged and actually meeting those goals, objectives, whatever is in your heart, and that you're actually going to be able to achieve those things because they're set upon the right foundation. Again, if we're not set on the right foundation and right understanding, we're going to have unrealistic expectations, unmet expectations. And then when we miss, how do we handle that? So this is a tool. It's not the tool, but I want to show you a way for many of you that I know that are struggling or frustrated with, man, I'm just let down again. I'm let down again, and I'm let down again. Well, there is a better way. There is an answer, and I'm inviting you along the journey to join me through Steward Yourself, the coaching program for individuals. And reach out to me, drop me a message, and I would love to connect with you. So have an amazing Sunday night. Have an amazing Holy Week for those of you that are observing that. Appreciate you guys following, jumping on with me, and I'll be back this week sharing more insights and encouraging you along the way. All right, guys, take care. Take care. Have a great night. Bye.